Okay, so we are on lesson number 343, and we're rapidly approaching the end of the workbook, and it's going to take me a little bit more than a year, I would think, depending on if I do those lessons at the end. And as I read this, it really dawned on me, there's a certain brilliance to the way this is put together that reveals itself to you as you go through it with an open mind. And I'm always amazed. I'm always amazed at the ability for me to read these lessons from Jesus and never not have my mind open and see something new. That is just sort of spectacular in view. So I was reading the way these lessons are all put together, today's and yesterday's and the day to come. Today, I am not asked to make a sacrifice to find the mercy and peace of God. Tomorrow, today, I learn the law of love, that what I give my brother is my gift to me. There are these two lines that focus our mind, our split minds, on a single point. And that's the single point where we can be miraculous in our thinking and allow ourselves to be utilized as miracle workers here in space and time. And that's the point. Remember, Jesus is saying that in the world as we are right now, miracles are much more important and miracles are much more efficient than even revelation. Because right here in the world of space and time, miracles unite men's minds with each other and therefore with Christ and eliminate the fear of God. That's what we're looking for. As we do that and lessen our fear, the revelation of the fact that the Father and Son have always been one and the unreality of the world will dawn. That doesn't have to be accomplished. That already is. The miracle shortens time, and in this time which wastes and seems to be wasted, so it is time which, when shortened, would bring about a more efficient ending to the dream of separation, not revelation, because revelation is personal and direct communication with you from God, and it eliminates fear for a moment, but the fear that we experience in the world is based on our relationship that we have within the world. And when we begin to lose the fear of our relationships in the world, what naturally happens is our mind becomes unveiled to our reality, because the only thing that keeps us from experiencing that reality with a constancy and consistency that would allow the dream to come to an end is fear and guilt. And the fear and guilt can be overcome in this world because Jesus did. As the Christ, when we utilize these lines, let's say, I am not asked to make sacrifice to find the mercy and peace of God. Okay, let's take a practical situation for a second. Because while these are designed to be practiced and utilized in the morning and the afternoon, they are also designed to be ways of accessing that which allows us to share salvation. And salvation is the great need of individual minds in space-time, because salvation, with the experience of salvation, comes the recognition that you were never separate from God, nor were you separate from your brothers. Okay? So now, we practice this, and we'll get up in the morning, we'll read, what is a miracle? And we read, we're meant to be miraculous as we've accepted the atonement as our only purpose, learned that we no longer have to identify and be subservient to the ego, and utilize our experience and our thoughts in our mundane life as the fodder to practice these ideas on, so as to make them real and to uncover the reality of the self that God created us to be, and fulfill our function within the world of space, because we become receptive. Ultimately, it's about receptivity and the willingness to give, rather than reject receptivity and shut ourselves down to giving simply because we don't think we have anything to give, nor think that it's, and we, most of the time when we're, listen, the end of suffering cannot be lost. The gift of everything can be but gained. Yes. You only give. This is what we're talking. Father God, you only give. You never take away. And you created me to be like you. So sacrifice becomes impossible for me as well as you. I too must give. And so all things are given me forever and forever. As I was created, I remain. Your son can make no sacrifice. Okay, so say in the course of your day, a situation comes, and we're all good Course in Miracles students, we're trying, and everybody's trying to stay happy and avoid the fear and the guilt, okay? Rather than just accept what comes and utilize the teachings to help us understand why it is actually coming to us at our own request, rather than thinking that we're being offered more sacrifice. We can recognize we're constantly being offered the healing of our own mind. So we're in a situation in the course of a day, and all of a sudden it feels, it has all the ingredients, all the undertones, all the overtones, all the feelings are rising up within you, because you feel all of a sudden you're in a situation where you cannot figure out a way how it is not sacrificial to you in some regard. Okay? I am not asked to make a sacrifice. Okay, so it's right there we stop. Okay, but what do we want? I want the peace of God. I want God's mercy, and I want God's peace. Okay. Now, the truth is that we cannot sacrifice in reality, because we've been given everything, and we can give of what we're given freely, because as we give, more is given to us. But here in space and time, where things seem to be limited and the ego seems to be in control, we enter into a situation unbeknownst to us, let's say, and all of a sudden something's being asked of us, and it seems like if we give, it's going to be a sacrifice, and it seems as though we're going to lose, and it seems as though there's no way out, and here we are a victim. It's right then and there where, having read and utilized and studied these principles, we can say, wait a second. Is it true? Is my thinking true? I'm not asked to make a sacrifice. I want to find the peace of God. Now, not responding in the way in which we normally did, but allowing ourselves a momentary pause in our mind and our hearts to allow the Spirit to come forth, the Christ to go in front of us and lead us, something entirely new can happen. Something can rise up from within the Christ mind of everyone in the situation that allows something to be made known. You can never be asked to give something that you don't have, but the ego, when you are asked to give, can give you all types of excuses and come up with all manner of images and ideas in your mind that it will present to you, that will try to convince you that you're being asked to give something you don't have, or you're going to lose and you're being taken advantage of because you're a victim. That's the ego's job. And it's predictable, and it will always do that. The predictability of the ego in its necessity to present that to you constantly is what you can depend on to allow you to be in situations where you can use that ego to stop and set your mind in a position where miracles can occur. And that's what this section, these entire 10 lessons under the heading of what is a miracle are designed to do as we utilize them as Jesus gave them to us. I'm not asked to make a sacrifice. But obviously, if I'm disturbed in the situation and I've dedicated myself to wanting the atonement, even though for a second I may forget or try to judge myself, I can remember when I pause that I don't have the peace of God. I want the peace of God. I want God's mercy. And in the answer that comes from the light and love of God, in that moment of miracles, everyone gets what they need and walks away wondering how that occurred. And that's how we're designed to live now that we've accepted the function of being miracle workers in space and time. And these 10 lessons, as they're put together in these 2 lines each, are designed to position our mind, utilizing the split in our mind and the training that we can give to the ego, which is quite predictable. We can use the split in our mind to fulfill our function within God's plan for salvation simply by allowing these lines to hold open a space rather than close us down and keep us prisoner of our own thinking and victimization once again. That's the purpose of the Course in Miracles. That's the purpose of the lessons that we're reading. And it's entirely possible that you can do this, but you must try. You must make the decision in an instant where it seems that you're asked to be, where sacrifice is being asked of you, where loss is being asked of you. You must make a decision based on your willingness to allow Jesus' certainty to lead the way home for you. That allows you to pause and let a new decision be offered to you and everyone involved right in the middle where the wagons of your own perceptual thinking were going to circle once again and enclose you in a box of space and time and keep the divine solution of your own awakening and joining with your brother from you once again. You no longer have to do this because you are not asked to sacrifice. You've never been asked to sacrifice. It is only the ego that has asked you and presented sacrifice as the price you pay for believing in it. You do this to yourself and you no longer have to do it because you can work miracles by letting the Christ that you are one with and the readiness of Jesus be demonstrated through you in the willingness to let these things work in you as the light works through you and helps heal your mind and your brother's mind so that the fear and guilt that were previously being reinforced by the world are now being utilized by us to heal our mind so that we can be clear and free of the need to continue the spatial and temporal drama.